Okay, so today our kind of short section is titled in Tibet, "Pui Beji Sache Tang Deki Sense," how to understanding outline system used in Tibetan Buddhist texts and its benefit. So sometimes I found this is it's very useful because I remember sometimes I teach at U of T, some student ask how you remember whole text. I said, oh, just in Tibet we have a special system called sometimes like a template system or outline system. So this when we study the text, we memorize those things. It memorizes maybe 1 or 2 pages. So if you memorize this text, this outline, you kind of know whole text what you're talking about. And then also it's one thing useful, you memorize whole text, it's very useful, you know thing. Other thing also this useful, sometimes you don't want to go from beginning to end, something you skim some special subject, because you know those things, you also can figure out easy thing. So I think it's usually a traditional Tibetan text, we didn't have a beginning text, all one, A, B, C. We didn't have this thing. You can see everything within the text. So when just look, I think this outline system is invented by the one lots of London Sherab, who's I think it came late 11th century and beginning 12th century. So after one lots invented this outline system or template system, and almost 90% Tibetan logical texts, philosophical texts, we using this system. And this system same as sometimes in Western scholar and keep presenting through the PowerPoint. You can just point 1, 2, 3, 4, then go deeper. Point 1 has a 2, point 2 has 3. Just go deeper. Pretty much same thing. So I remember when I was in the shader, when I got the text, first my job is I highlight all this kind of outline system outline. So for instance, today I'm just show a little bit example. This is the tenon text. Presentation of the tenons composed by the foremost Menju Gosha Chogi Genze. This is tenon text. So when I first got a text, I'm doing this thing. So it's I'm not reading, it's just only highlighting. Did to the namsha shevala. So this a explanation of tenants. 3, Tsenik, Yewa, Chewasu Dunsheba. For within those 3 outline, the whole text include those 3. Then Dangbo means talking about Tsenyi. Niba means talking about Yewa. Niba also has a 4 part, Chidama, Dodiba, Semzamba, Wonyimawa. And then Sumba, Chewasu Dunsheba. This also has a 3 part, Chidama Lu, Dodiba Lu, Semzamba Lu, Wonyimalu Sheba. So then Chidama Lu also have a 7, Chenyi Yewa. So that's if you look at the English, you can see this sort of thing. So, did to the Namsha Shebala. Here, the explanation of the presentation of tenon. And you can put has 3 parts. I think we should add this thing. Then Tenyi, defining property. So this is in Tibet is really good at it. We just when debating, we always talking about Tenyi. If you know the Tenyi correctly, that means you know that this whatever subject is correctly.
The definitions.
Yewa division, and explanation of the meaning of the individual division. Individual division.
So this is the beginning of the text, and the text actually starts by giving you the outline.
Yes.
Right? And then, so it's got the 2 sections and then 3 sections, and then each section has subsections.
Yes.
And at the beginning of the text, it'll already tell you what that outline is. It was so helpful.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. So just like 1, 2, 3, then just like go more detailed. For us, I'm saying like section 1, which is talking about Tsenyi, defining property. They're not a subsection. Just only give here. Some from here you can say kunjo sum gemne yangdo de kelishi, deleshi be gemne medu tudame kasa de number sanje be tudame kasa Tsenyi, but not subsection.
No subsections.
Yeah. And section 2, which is like your division. And this has a 4 section. Chidamawa, Dodeba, Semzamba, Wonimao. See, just like when person who are proponents of individual Buddhist tenets are defined, there are 4 types. Proponent of the Great Exposition, proponents of Sutra, proponents of mind only, and proponents of the naturalistness. So there's like a 4 school: Chidamawa, Dodeba, Semzaba, Wonimao. Like this is like a thing. Now we have the section 3, Sumba. And section 3, the explanation of the meaning of the individual division, which is the 1, 2, 3, 4. And this section has a 4 part. We just do explanation of the system or prominent of the Great Exposition, and the system, the prominent of the Sutra, the system of the prominent of mind only, the system of provenance of the naturalist is 4. Chidama Lushaba, is Sheba, you can someday Sheba explanation of Chidama Lushaba, Dotibi Lushaba, Samzamba Lushaba, Wonyama Lushaba. Sometimes Wonyama Lushaba, sometimes Uma midway, sometimes there's like a different name we're talking about, right? So now it's like a Tambo. Tambo is talking about Chidama Lushaba. So just like a first, which is they're talking about an explanation of the system, the problem of the Great Exposition. This section has a 7 part. Which
so
is
first, the author first says the sections in the 1 outline level, and then he'll go through and do each subsequent level.
Yeah, so that's
the first one of the last level has 7 parts. Yeah.
So it's like it's like somewhere is coming. I'm just like this time we're just talking.
Yeah, right.
So it's like maybe this kind of after a little half full talk, this thing, right?
Okay.
So first, and this is which is Chidama Luksheba, right? So first, explain of the system of the problem of the Great Exposition. This section has a 7 part, which is like a Tsenyi, defining property, Yewa, division, and Daxie. Daxie means the etymology. So Daxie. And then Yu Genduzu, Yujin Genduzu, Dami Genduzu, Salang Namsha Sheba. So here is same thing. Yu Genduzu means assertion on the object. Yujin Genduzu, assertion on the object possessors. And Dami Genduzu, assertion on the selflessness. Salam Namsha, and presentation of the grounds and paths. Sometimes Sanskrit bhumi and path. So this section like a 7 part. So basically, see, one school have a 7 part. Almost every school, Chedamao have 7 part. Dodiba, Semzamba, Wonyaba, each school have a 7 parts.
Right.
So basically, see, if you know those 7 part, you kind of know all detail of the school. There's also like a definition, how many part of the school, and how there's like a understanding the selflessness, this everything explained. Then you can say section 2, Niba. So it's like a section 2 is a division. This is division in 1 internal division. So it's basically saying like this school has a also like 3-part. So Chedamao has a 3-part of Chedamao. There are definitely prominent of the great expression are of 3 types: Kashmiri, apparent caste, and Mangadas. So basically this name come from the, in Tibetan we call Sakya. It's a region name to religion. Same thing, those like a Chedamara school, like a region name to this school come from Kashmir, we call Kashmir, Kaji Chedamao, Tibetan. Something from New York, we call Nyewa Chedamao. Something UU means Mangada. So that's the thing like Dela Yena, Kaji Chedamao, Nyewa Yugu Chedamao Sum. So that's kind of explained. Then Ngaba Yujing Duzu, Tuba, Ramig Duzu, Dumba, Salam Ke Namsha. And see this thing 5, assertion on the object possession, Yujing Duzu, assertion on the selfness, Damig Duzu, Salam assertion on the ground and path. So this sort of thing is whatever we have this school explained, other old school has the same thing coming.
So the discussion of every tenet system follows the same pattern.
Yes, same pattern. Especially this tenet system, whatever in this talk about the provenance of the great exposition, the same thing. There's like a provenance of the sutra or provenance of the mind or provenance of naturalness, all school using same category and same style. In terms of like sometimes I can say English, some people using the like letter, some people use a Latin number, some people use just number.
Right.
Yeah, I just make it simply use the number. So like for something, this tenet text usually divide 3 parts. Part 1, maybe just so you can say part 1, part 2, part 3. So all text you can just explain within those 3 outline, 3 subjects. So part 1 is defining property, part 2 division, part 3 explanation of the meaning of the individual division. So then part 1, they're not like a sub-part, right? Part 2 has a 3, 2.1, 2.12, 2.3, 2.4. And this is 1 by 1. And part 3 has I just put here like 4 part. You can put just like 3.1 has a 4 part, 3.11, 3.12, 3.1 and 0.3, 4, 5, 6, 7, kind of confusing. And then of course 3.1.2 has a 3 subdivision. You can say Kashmiri, this thing. And same thing, 3.1.7 has a 2 parts. And then this also exactly the same as from here, whatever using this still same style, this force. I think this like a now more modern Tibetan book, they from the original text take out those things, put in this thing, some Tibetan letter, this thing.
Oh, okay. They can just put headers or something.
Yes.
They use formatting to indicate the same kind of thing.
But sometimes they put most important, not detail, like for some Tibetan same text. They're using text Chitamalu, using Duzu, Tamik, Salam Namsha. And it's like there were 7, they 1, 2, 3 most important put it. Other like skip it. Particularly 1, 2, 3, 4. Samsa Balu 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So there's everything more important, and then just like this make it here outside the book.
Do you think did they eliminate the content, or did they just not make a separate heading?
This is not eliminated here only like so begin the text is omitted, but the actual text is still there.
Okay. So it's just omitted from the outline, from the table of contents.
Yeah. So basically, this is a bigger the outline. They put number.
Yeah.
And then one you will So I think this sort of thing we more common doing, but just like this style, some text using not that much. So because like some like a scholar, they put too many, but sometimes they use this everything, but sometimes the most important part is taken out. So I think sometimes this may be helpful when people translating or text this kind of stuff.
Yeah, so helpful when the text has that. It's amazing. It's very helpful. And I remember going through, then you highlight everything for the whole text, and then you know, you kind of understand the topic of the whole text already, and you can go ahead to the part that you want to read or something. You can find that section more easily. But also you, yeah, it's like just sort of getting a sense of the contents of the text generally.
Yes, exactly. That's also like one idea, because then you read the text. It sometimes is a monastery before we starting this text, and some lamas you have to memorize all the outline. So then just we have to memorize the outline. Sometimes like give us 2 or 3 days. We memorize this thing, and then actually it's like sometimes debating. First we ask the outline. Okay, so this chapter has how many main part? Which is debating, and some 3 part. How about second part of how many subsection? We say 3 part. And how about like 3 part? This first one how many part? This we first before debating ask everything one by one. Then everything then from this one point we debating this subject.
Right. I never thought of that, actually. Of course, the outline, I think of the outline as so useful for reading, but it's probably more useful for memorizing.
Yes, yeah.
It's most important for memorizing the text, huh?
Memorizing is really, really helpful, but then otherwise you cannot basically saying memorize everything. If you memorize the like outline, then kind of know which section, then really easy to remember. So basically kind of key term, right? Yeah.
I remember also sometimes though when you're reading and then suddenly it says nibani da 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 da, and I think like which two, like you have to go back and figure out like what two, which second part it is, because maybe it's the previous section, you know.
Yes, I think that's also the same thing. Just you have to go back. Memory, you have to go back, right?
Yeah.
I saw also one time, it's like I think in your Tibetan class, you did one thing. I think one time Ben will show me, you can do also wonderful things, also like make everything outline. I saw one, I think 2007, something long time ago.
Yeah, this system is so good. So this is so common in philosophical text or tenet system texts. Are there other genres of text that sometimes use an outline system like this?
Yeah, there's also even though some biographer using the same thing, but just like mostly the tenet system, logic text using lots and philosophical text using lots, but just we use this one less to the ritual text. A ritual text we have a different kind of system. We not using the first part has. This is more like a debating or memorize this subject using lots of things. But just it's interesting. This is like when you're looking for the danger, you can't find this thing. This is like really one lots of Londe Shirov, like she's freshly invited.
Right. So native Tibetan texts written originally in Tibetan have this, but not translations.
Yeah. So, but just like sometimes Indian texts, and then some Tibetan scholar write a kind of commentary on this thing. Then also we invert this thing.
Right. You add the outline.
Add the outline for this thing. Yeah.
And are there differences in outlines in the different, like between different authors or authors from different schools? Are there any kinds of different conventions of outlines?
I think that's like an outline is not so much different because like invited by lots of Londe Shiro, every scholar follow this thing. But the thing is like some scholar which too much detail for outline, some scholar less detail. That's the only different.
Right.
So just like an individual, right? Some like for I'm saying, even the here, they didn't go too much detail. Otherwise, we have Salam Namsha has a 2-part. They didn't use it. So here it was like this. Chitama look like something they have a yewa individual division they're using here.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the thing. Like sometimes here it's like some people put more detail, some people put less detail, and same thing. Actual text. Some author put lots of detail outline. Some authors like most important thing, key thing, less detail.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like it's not like a different school, only different like authors there. I don't know.
Personal style.
Personal, yeah, exactly, yeah.
And when you read a text or when you teach in the Shedra, if you're used to reading this kind of text with a lot of detail, a lot of outlines, and then you find a text with very little outline, do you kind of add some in your notes? Do you make some like notes about here, this is the second part, and this is, do you add an outline?
Yes, we're using from our mind, using lots of things. So in terms of memorizing, doing special Tibetan, we have a kind of tradition of memorizing almost everything.
Yeah.
So in this sort of thing, it's because of the outline really helpful.
Uh-huh.
And also sometimes even the scholar didn't have too much detail, and even you also add some more. So then you more remember more that thing. That's
Right.
what, yeah. So like for example, saying we famous about Abhidhamma and Vinaya. These two is like the outline is so famous, and there's like many scholars just compose like you can just like not like that. You can sometimes just see the verses of outline.
Uh-huh.
Everything just like chanting. See in mornings, sometime early morning, and there's many monks reading these verses. Looks like verses, reality, everything outline.
It's
Even
just
the
outlines.
outline, make it shorter. This thing. So for example, something. Yuda Damin Salam Duzu, like basically Yuda Damin Duzu here, Yujin Damin Duzu. Yujin Duzu, you can make a short form. Even one line, even make more. This
Oh, yeah. Just as a way of memorizing.
That's a way to memorize. Then just like if you cannot memorize, and then just like in debating, basically you don't have nothing to show.
Yeah.
So like basically you cannot open the text, right? Everything. And also like before we debating certain subject, first we have to caution. So that basically your like opponent did know this thing, ask many caution. Then is certain subject we debating lots. That's the
yeah. Great. Thank you so much. That's so helpful.
Oh, thanks. Yeah.
So interesting and so very helpful. I love to read a text with a good outline.